Well, hello, and happy Tuesday, everybody. Coming to you live on my old original Tuesday day. Perfect timing, just was ready to hit go live, and the heater vent, the furnace stopped running, so I don't have a lot of background noise, which I appreciate. So I see some interesting discussions going on in the group. A lot of questions being asked. I have some great ones that I'm going to address today. And I'm just going to put it out there to make sure that this group is for those ready to work with the dragons, those that are ready to be guided by their energy, their gifts, their tools, what they're here to give and bring for you. It is not necessarily about dragon art, and that's part of it because we love dragons, so we share those things. But I see a few posts that are starting to almost get some bickering or dissension going on, and that's not what the dragons are about. And I will say, if it continues, I will put a complete stop to it and do some ejection, because everything about the dragons is about love and service and bringing us together. And this group is not meant for random questions about random stuff with dragons. It is really about how to work with them, why they're here, what they're for, how they embrace and serve us, and how we can move into our ascension and who we be. So just putting that out there. Let's keep it all friendly and keep moving forward together. That's the whole point of it. And I was blown away, actually. I don't know why I haven't seen the number or paid attention to it recently. I know that we were hitting over 2.2 K members. And for some reason, I just saw we're about to hit 4,000. So we've grown organically by leaps and bounds recently, which is super exciting because that means people are ready. They're so much more ready to go on their journey with the dragons and really open up to it. And apparently there's some big astrological alignments for the next, I want to say that I heard Pam McGregory mention something about the next 7 years, maybe through 2027. Anyway, something to do with dragon energy being more prevalent, which makes sense for me because all of the pieces that have been coming together in my groups, the activation is going to be next Thursday, the 21st. I want to make sure you guys are all aware of that. There's a lot of geometries happening. There's a lot of things coming into place for where we're at in the completion point, the cohesion point of the journey we're on, and really moving forward into 5D, into the quantum field. So, I'll just touch on that for the activation next week. I'm going to be doing an activation with all of my dragon hearts from the past 6 years that are still part of the ongoing groups or just finished the new group. There's an alignment happening that has to do with aligning into the new geometry that the Lyrans are pulling in and where they meet and coming together. Super excited for this piece. But I think what I want to do energetically for everyone in this dragon family is do a live meditation. We've done one periodically. I think I did one last solstice, December solstice, and I think I did one on either the spring equinox or the June solstice. And so just been feeling led to do that again with you guys. I will post a time closer to early in the week next week as to what time to watch for it. Probably around 1 p.m. because that allows both Australia to hit it on Friday morning and any Europeans to plan on staying up a little bit later, maybe till 10 that night to catch it if they want to. And of course, it will always be on the replay. The energy is an energy that is outside of time and space, so it doesn't matter when you connect into it. But just watch for that. I'll be posting that next week. That'll probably be next week's live. And then diving in for the questions this week, I just love that the questions seem to be covering subjects that have been around for a while, but sometimes we touch on things or don't really understand them and don't think to ask or don't put it out there. So I love that I've actually still been getting some new questions that we're going to dive into today. So the first one is from Evelyn, and she says, are dragons prone to moving a lot, as many deep down are used to not being bound to one location? They're not bound to one location. And so it's interesting to sit with that energy because there's always so many responses. Dragons are as individual and unique as the number of, just like humanity. We're all unique. We all have our own gifts, talents, things we strive for, passions, interests. And dragons are no different. They do come together in a bigger way. They're They're better at holding, interestingly, a communal harmonic is more natural to them, even though we picture them often as isolationists, as the ones that go into their cave. They're hiding. They want to be alone. They don't want to be around community. And a lot of that has to do with the vibration of this sphere of reality, the third dimensional matter plane, where they were hunted, where they had to go and isolate. You know, a lot of times you come across many of them together in the mountains. It's because they were part of a community and they just densified down when all the hunting and the persecution and the real degradation of energy towards them occurred. And so as we come back into being able to recognize them, embrace them, want to work with them, want to see them, want to awaken them, recognizing them as family, that dynamic starts to shift. And I know that in my own patterns, so I will say for Evelyn's question, I've moved a lot in my life. Knowing I'm dragon, now I know I'm dragon, I didn't then. But I've moved a lot in my life, and I had not a tendency, but always was very comfortable being on my own. Was always comfortable living alone, going out to do things alone, traveling alone. Loved having companions when that worked, but if it didn't keep me from doing something. So I feel like those characteristics are part of my dragon aspect, but what's interesting is that the further along on my journey I go, the more communal I'm drawn to. That as my dragon family has extended, and this is not just here physically, this is my dragon family in the energetic realms that has been presenting and showing up and bringing all the memory back. It's drawing me much more into communal. And what's interesting is the further along on my journey I've gotten, the more stable I've been here in not moving around so much. And that could be a factor of having kids and wanting to stay in one location. Still have a desire to travel. That got sort of laywayed since 2020, which will start again. But I really think there's a lot of different takes or different even kinds of dragons that more have a gypsy strain in them. They like to travel, they like to go, because they're always in service. They're always wanting to go and explore and where can I help and what can I do. But they're all also those that love community, love serving in a big way all together, working together. We are used to being parts of legions. We are used to being parts of droves and droves of dragons working together for large projects. So I know I'm not pinning it down as to that, but I think both exist. But as we go into our higher vibrational connection with the dragons, we're going to find more and more communal harmonic, and more, the question was really about location. Do they change location a lot? And in that sense, yes, but they're not necessarily alone. And they wouldn't be necessarily fixed to that if they have a long-term project. So let's look at it this way. Moving location a lot, even with different service that they want to do, or just wanting to go and see something different, have a different adventure. Think about Earth plane as an adventure. There are many, many, many dragons who came here to be of service as it was being constructed, as the entire grid work needed to be held. That's a long-term assignment. Like, they've not been able to pick up and leave until the Lyran replacements have come into those grid spaces very recently. So, what, 1 billion years, maybe more of station? Is that a long time in the life of a dragon? Is that a short-term thing and now they're ready to move off and do something else? So there's a lot more aspects to the question to dive into, but I love that Evelyn brought it forward, because we as dragon, as we recognize and start to feel ourselves within that capacity, start to look at our own habits, our own things. And in an earth plane body, dragons that are here as human, I do see a lot of both. I see many of my dragon hearts that have been in the same place for 30, 40 years, and they have no desire to move. They don't need to. But there are many other like myself that historically have moved around a lot with, as I said, that sort of gypsy, always needing diversity, needing something fresh, something new to not trigger, but to not even appease. I'm trying to think of the right word. The need for diversity, to just feel like, all right, I've got something new here that's perking my interest. I'm going to learn about it, and all those different things. So I never see them as being bound to location unless they're, because that was part of her question, unless they're in a service-oriented project. They're never bound. Dragons, all higher beings are in full dominion and autonomy to move around as they wish. So the only time I've seen them bound to locations is when they're on mission with a specific service, as I described for like this earth plane. So hopefully that gives you a little feedback, Evelyn, to sit with and ponder over, see where it fits for you, see where you start to see other patterns around, and recognizing even in yourself, if you're a mirror, like for me, moving around a lot at a certain part, but as I get more stabilized in stepping into my dragon, interestingly, I've been more stable in my journey here and not moved out around as much. I've actually been here in Reno since, gosh, going on 16 years. So that's an amazing stint for me. Most people look at 16 years and go, oh, that's like, that was where I was for high school. But, I've been here 45 years or 30 years or whatever. 16 was a long time for me to be anywhere. It was usually every 2-3 years I was picking up and going somewhere different. And, yeah, so if that's your mirror, just start paying attention to, as you start merging more and more with your higher dragon self, what happens? Does that change? Does it get activated to a higher degree, or do you find yourself being more stabilized? So love the question. And what I mention often to you guys is the uniqueness of the questions that come in. They make me think, they make me not so much think here, but my heart reaches out and just feels the answer to stuff I would have never even dreamt of asking. It hadn't come into my field of thought yet. So those bring in, and I go, wow, what an interesting thing to contemplate. Absolutely, yes. So this next one is sort of fun. Lauren asked about dragon eggs. And so we're going to dive into, and I just have to hold this up. It's what I consider like a dragon egg coming into the flesh here, right? Like, isn't this cool? Dragon eggs are obviously much, much bigger than this. This is actually an ostrich egg that came to me in a magical way, and so I'm like, wow, interesting. Now I have this by all my dragons as the dragon egg representative, or energy representation of the dragon eggs in my space. And so sitting with dragon eggs, Lauren's questions were, why are they there? Why do they come in? What is their purpose for coming in? How do we care for them? Is there like a birth process or an incubation process that like is standard, normal? What should I pay attention to? And what is the length of the process? Are these dragon eggs here for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? What kind of parameters are around that with dragon eggs? So again, because nothing can be pinned down, nothing is limited. I've often told you guys, absolutely anything is possible, right? So the field of potential being so open, and the dragons being so ancient, there are so many variables that can take. So I'm going to touch on just the few that I've had experience with through my dragon hearts, through my clients, through people that share stories with me. I personally have not had dragon eggs come in to my field to be the caretaker of, or to place anywhere. I have one of my dragon hearts, Tiara, who's the twin, one of Tiamat. She's Tiamat's twin energetically. She's here in physical on the planet in human form, and she had dragon eggs come to her that she was told to place in specific locations around the world. So there's that way that can happen where she's not responsible for the incubation or anything else, but there's a specific seeding of a specific dragon energy that is within those eggs that needs to be placed within those energetic grid vectors in certain locations. And I'm not even privy to all the locations where she was told to distribute those during her journeys and her travels around the world. And she would know. There's always an internal knowing of when it's time to do that. If that's the kind of thing that's coming for you, just wait until you have absolute clarity on not only the location, but the timing. Just because you've been given a location, don't immediately assume that it's got to be as soon as I know. It's now. There will be a timing of that usually aligns with some kind of an astrological lineup or something in either your chart or others, or like the larger global chart. There you go, Paul. So pay attention to that. there's always going to be a timing, and that may have to do with the incubation of it. It usually has more to do with the alignment energetically of what's ready to be a seed point, what's ready to be an origin point for a next phase. So, yeah, isn't that beautiful, Paul? I just love it. So I'm hoping more come to me. So others that I've experienced or had share with me, they've had them come into their womb space. I've been in session with people where they had dragons into their body space, either in their heart or their womb is I would consider more common, but it doesn't have to be. And if they are connected to dragons either as like some are caregivers, some are like some people that have been in my programs aren't actually dragon hearts. They're not actually dragons at their core, but they have such a deep connection with dragons because they were maybe the caregivers. The best word for it is French. It's a creche, like a worker. It's someone who runs the nursery, and it doesn't have to be a dragon to run the nursery. So those that have that role often will have eggs come to them because they know how to incubate them, and it's an intuitive thing. And it will depend. The dragons are here telling me right now, the incubation period really specifically depends on the lineage of dragon that's coming in and which vibrational octave they want to enter. So if you have dragon eggs that are wanting to actually come down to almost nearly physical matter level, it's probably going to be a slower process because the densification process of those energies may take longer, dropping down into a time continuum even. Others may go very, very quickly because they're staying in a high vibrational rate, but they need to come in to be closer to the earth plane. They're brought in through you, through your guides, to actually insert them into this vibrational field as, not seed points, but as space holders or energetic vibration holders for things that are unfolding in those locations. So that's a possibility. Others have been like not necessarily landed in their body, but they've had eggs show up in their altar space or their home or their land, their property. Somehow they come across them and they realize they're there. Then like, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? And if you can sit with, if you're never sure, you can always call and do a reading and we can get the information. You know, that's what I do with my gifts is bring clarity in. But most of the time your heart will already know. And if you don't know, then wait until you do know and just sit with it and ask the questions. What do I do with this? And then listen for the answer and allow it to come. You might be directed to take it somewhere. You might be directed to just wait until it hatches. Or you might be directed that this is a family member, this is an aspect of you that you need to reconnect with. Again, I want to say the sky is the limit, but they're saying actually there are some parameters around it, even though the field of potential is boundless. It's an endless field of potential within it. There are certain parameters for some reason with the bringing of the eggs down into this realm or through human capacity. So their purpose, as I said, they're either for specific seed points of energies that we're ready to start moving towards as a collective, or specific land masses are ready to move towards. Your own development. What if an egg comes into you and has nothing to do with anything about the land, anything about the region, but it's specifically for you to remember an aspect of yourself. Whether you're one of those caregivers, that you're one of those nursery dragon caretakers, if that starts hitting and you're brought a clutch of eggs, there will be things starting to wake up in your heart that naturally you're just driven to explore and feel like, whoa, why does this feel so familiar? And then you start seeking those answers, and they may have brought them into your sphere specifically for that. Keep in mind, you are on a soul level writing your script. You are sending yourself the breadcrumbs, the clues, the pieces you need for your journey to have the wake-up points and the signposts, the guideposts that you hit along your journey, and you'll have some help along the way. And you're sending that help in through these eggs. So you're sending it to yourself as a marker, as like a memory trigger. That may be what is happening for you. So pay attention to that. as soon as you open your heart to ask, even if you don't think you're clairvoyant or claircognizant, or you don't get information from the other side, someone around you in your realm does. Even if that's me and you need to do a session, but almost all of us know an intuitive. Or if we have felt something, we just don't trust it yet. So I encourage you to start trusting what your heart is telling you, however these eggs might show up, whatever they're meant to do or be for you. You might have a purpose out in the world with them. You might be birthing a new lineage of dragons into this closest realm space, like maybe not into 3D matter, but maybe into the Middle Earth or vibrational realm, which somewhere between 3 and 4, that is close enough for them to start really having an impact with humanity to be more directly in service. That's a huge gift to be given and to have in your journey. So allow that information to come and then trust it when it comes. If it's not accurate, it will correct itself, and you'll see where the subtle misinterpretation was, and you'll get like a greater clue of like, oh, now I feel like I'm being told, and odd things will come, right? Like you've got this egg or multiple eggs, and you're like, I'm being told to put crystals in this room around them. What? Or maybe it's out in the woods and you're being told to bring a blanket or a set of crystals or specific stones, or come and play music to it. And you're like, I'm not going to go sit in the woods and play tuning forks or drumming music to these eggs that are invisible and nobody else can see. Somebody will walk by on the trail and think I'm insane, right? This is where we got to start getting rid of those worries about judgment and things, because if your heart is telling you to do something, I guarantee there's a reason. And that will unfold and you'll discover it later on. But trust that instinct of knowing. I will tell you, when I first started, back in 2003, when I first started working with people directly, I'd been through my meditations, being guided by Metatron back into all of my energy practices, waking up all my gifts. And then he was telling me, like, go start doing this with people. You know how to correct and heal auric fields. There's tears in them. Like, you know how to do this. Trust it. And start doing that. So I started making appointments with people to come and start doing that. And I would get the weirdest information, like the day before, the morning of, and I'd say, do you have like a blue scarf or a blue like soft blanket? You need to bring it. And they're like, yeah, I do. That's really weird. And there would be a reason that it would be part of the session. Odd things like that. So that was where my guides were trying to show me, just trust. Say it. It's going to sound crazy, or make the sound. I had the weirdest sounds early on when I was toning and bringing energy through. Back then, it was much more dense, and people had weird stuff in their fields, and there would be like insect noises and clicking noises and guttural, what felt like almost like African. I studied African linguistics, so it felt almost like these weird guttural languages from another continent coming through. And I was amazed at the range of sounds that I could make. And then they would show like why that was, and I would see these bugs like crawling out of their field, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to question it. Just let it come through. Anything like that, whether it's your own information that you need to follow up on, whether it's sounds, tones trying to come through, and it sounds really awful and weird at first, but that's what you're hearing and that's what needs to come out. Trust it. There's always a reason, and it will reveal later on. And that's when you start getting the little confirmations that build your own confidence to keep doing it more and more and more. So on that, I hope I've answered the questions about the eggs. Length of process, I'll just look at all our questions to be sure that I've touched in on them. How to care for them, I said absolutely listen to your heart. You'll know, like, do I need to meditate with them a certain amount of time or amount each week? Do I need to sing to them? Do I need to bring warmth or heat around them? Do I need to place them in certain places? Just trust what's coming. And the length of the process, as was mentioned before, is determinate upon the lineage. This is what the dragons are telling me right now. It's determinate upon the lineage and the vibrational level they're wanting to come in. So the longer incubation period is going to be something that's much closer to the physical realm. And that's hitting home for me, of like these ones that my friend Tiara had. I think she has had them for years before they were ready to be placed in specific places. Doesn't mean she has to do anything with them. I'm sure she checks in on them periodically, but even that, like if they need your attention, one of your guides or yourself will like bring it into the forefront of, all right, go check on the eggs, or you need to do something with them now. And that the birthing process itself, I honestly don't know if anyone has shared with me, knowing all these that I know that have eggs, I don't know if anyone's actually shared the hatching process of any of them actually hatching while they were present, hatching with them. So if you guys have stories like that, please share them in the comments or post it into the group, or send me an email, because I would love to be able to share those with everyone, so that we have that piece. What was that birthing process like? Knowing that it is an egg, but it's not a hatching process necessarily like an ostrich would come out of this, like a crack, 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 needs a lot of force to get out of the egg. What I'm being shown right now, and I love that my reading space is not necessarily like closed-eyed anymore. They're showing me right now that the incubation, the cracking open of the egg is more of a dissolution process because it's still vibrational. It's not dropped down into matter like an egg shell that actually needs force to crack it. It's more of a dissolution process, and it comes by, and this is where the dragon will be developed to a certain degree to be able to energize and send their breath out, which would have flame for most of them, not all, but to be able to generate enough force from their fire chamber. So the fire chamber is where the dragon pulls its force, its breath, its flame, and sends it across its heart and out into the world, right? So, God, this is beautiful. They're showing me how a dragon is ready to hatch. The incubation process is complete when their fire chamber is fully developed and they're actually able to, with their full intention and process, go down energetically and bring that energy up from the fire chamber and expel it out, which then has a specific resonance that dissolves the shell. It actually is like its own cracking, but it's not a crack, 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 shell fall off. It's a dissolution with the flame that they are then out of the shell. So there again, that beautiful question asking about the birthing process or the hatching process from a dragon egg, I would have never I wouldn't have remembered it. At some point in my journey, I would. I'm remembering it right now. But I'm remembering it by the gift of someone asking that question. Because I don't have dragon eggs that I'm dealing with. So obviously some part of me knew it. The dragons here are sharing it and reminding me of that. And as soon as they showed it to me, I went, oh, yes. Now I remember. And it's those beautiful moments of having that greater memory, our soul memory reconnected to, that actually helps us merge back into ourselves. So thank you for the questions. Absolutely loved it. And that one was from Lauren. And keep asking. Let's keep having these amazing discussions. They're so much more relevant and prevalent to your journey than some of the other questions I've been seeing fired into the group that are causing a little dissension and like disagreements. Let it be there, right? So yes, and singing it to open, Pam. Thank you. So I'm guessing that Pam has had some eggs directly. It makes sense singing it to open. If you know and feel the dragon heart, the heart of that dragon incubating is ready. How do we wake up dragons out in the rocks, in the woods, in the mountains? It's their heart song. And if you can hear their heart song, it means they're ready. If there's nobody around, which there typically isn't directly, like the crush, the caretaker of the dragon nursery would be sort of overseeing, but letting each dragon find its own force and power to come up within. But I am being reminded or shown that there are other lineages of dragons that specifically do the singing part. So here again, and I feel like it's definitely connected to like the Middle Earth dragons, that coming down into this lower vibrational realm is connecting into all of the fairy realms, elven realms, druidic realms, the Devic kingdoms. There's a lot more connection to singing them in through that, and by singing it, definitely not pretty. That's awesome, Pam. That just letting it out, yes. Because the beauty is that you're not singing your own, just like making it up. If you sing from the heart and you feel it, that means you're feeling their heart song emanating to you, which is actually what we use to wake up dragons in the mountains. When you can feel their heart song and sing it directly to them, that's what brings them out of their like deep slumber state, right? So with these eggs, it would be the same thing where they've developed enough that they're ready to have that heart song heard. And if someone is there to hear it, that means it can reflect back to them and pull them out. That it shows them that there's someone ready waiting for them. And then they're ready to come out, which is a little subtly different than those that are ready to birth in and bring their flame out to release themselves. So, wow, what an amazing, cool discussion. I loved these questions. I thank you guys for being here. Be sure to check out the Lair, dragonwithin.com/Lair, Lair. Everything for the month of December, nearly everything in stock. Not all items. I've got the new 3D printed dragons. Just shipped some out to someone this week. 3D printed dragons and the oracle decks and the books are not discounted, but everything else is half off right now. And there's some beautiful art cards if you want to send someone a loving note of appreciation or whatever. Maybe you want to get a plushie for your niece or nephew or cousins or kids or whatever, for yourself. I love plushies. I have actually one of each of them in my bathroom on a big shelf. But they're all half off right now. I'm basically like just letting them go at cost so that you guys can enjoy them. And part of that too is because I know that my work is shifting moving forward and won't be necessarily on site to be shipping stuff regularly. So we'll see where that goes in the new year. I just keep it shown. It's in my horizon. Not sure how and when it's come together, but I feel that shift coming. So big, beautiful week to all of you guys. Looking forward to seeing you on the solstice. Watch early next week for a post about actual time that I'll do a live meditation with y'all. And you will be able to tune in as well. So 7:27 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's Reno, Nevada time. Pacific Standard is like San Francisco, Los Angeles time. That's the actual time of the solstice. So wherever you are in the world, whatever your time zone matches to that, is when the actual solstice hits. So that's when I'm doing my activation with the Dragon Hearts. And you can tune into that from wherever you are in the world. You don't have to be on the call or directly part of what we're doing like with each other, but you will feel the field and it will be generated for everyone to be able to participate in and receive energetically, as well as the meditation I do earlier that day with everybody. So beautiful week to you all. This was super fun. I will see you next time, and dive into the lair and find a goodie, find a treat for yourself or someone else for this holiday. All right. Much love to everybody. Bye for now.